No, this is my garage gym right here in my
Oh,
house.
that's pretty sick, though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sick. All
It's
set up.
cool little setup, my boy. Let me see if I can. We got the heavy bag, and we got the right now. Got a fighter who's cutting weight, so he's over here hanging up his fucking dirty ass clothes, sick ass motherfucker. Then got the little garage situation out here, man.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Got the whip posted up in the front.
Yeah,
You
my
know,
sexy ass fucking Toyota Rav4, dog. You know, chicks love that.
you
They
know, you know.
love the Toyota Rav4, dude. It's a hefty vehicle.
Shoot, man. AJ, we
Oh,
appreciate you coming on, dog. It's been a minute since we chopped it up, man. So we're
Yeah,
excited to have you on and talk about everything going on now, man, going on in your life.
yeah. Appreciate you boys having me on, man. It's gonna be fun.
100%, bro. Well,
yeah.
shoot, man. We know you train boxers, man. I know Andrew's got a question because that's a serious endeavor. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Working with these fighters and
yeah.
whatnot. So yeah, man. What Andrew? What you got?
So recently, we've come across a new phenomenon in the fitness industry called Cholo Fit, and and we're wondering if you've ever implemented some of Cholo Fit in your workout routines, training boxers, and the benefits you see of that becoming a new elite training system.
That's right. Nah, so like all the homies that I grew up with from the neighborhood, some fools would come back from being institutionalized and they got the rutina, they're serious. So they come out like on swole from the pinta. And like sometimes you're like, these fools got a sick ass burpee routine that's gonna make you throw up. So like if I throw a burpee in class, which is usually most of my classes, I'll throw in like just one interval of doing burpees. It makes me feel at home. Like that's why I have a uncle who like I had who he was institutionalized and he always did his little burpee routine that I would see him doing in his backyard. And like it made me realize, oh, you know what? Calisthenics, if you don't have any equipment around, is actually pretty good for you. I know that Cholo Fish, it's like a little comedy scene, but like a lot of homies from the neighborhood, like they do their little workout routinas, dog, and like a lot of them, like they get pretty swole off of it. It's kind of crazy. But I don't know if I implemented in my in my actual training. I try to use the knowledge I've gained from the boxing gyms and the National Academy of Sports Medicine, where I got my my certs from. But yeah, no. Sometimes I do. That's a good
Okay,
question,
so
bro.
on a real note, when it
Yeah,
comes to boxers and when it comes to training yourself,
yeah.
um, are you implementing weights, or do you see that as beneficial to a fighter, or detrimental?
I think it depends on the journey that the certain fighter's on. I don't see it being something that's not beneficial if it's used correctly. It's just sometimes like the fear is putting your fighter in a position where they're doing training that doesn't benefit the skill set you're trying to develop. And you can slow down a fighter's speed. You can maybe like mess up their mechanics a little bit because they're going more for a hypertrophy based strength program. And that's not beneficial for boxers or a lot of like sports. Like you can't have a baseball pitcher doing bench press too often because it's going to mess up his pitch. Or just a baseball player's got to swing a baseball bat. Like there's certain lifts that could hinder their performance that you don't want to overdo. So, but I do think that it is beneficial at the end of the day to have a strength program that's catered toward the sport that you're doing if you're an athlete.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. With some of the fighters you're working with, how involved in their camp are you? Like, are you some of their head coaches? How does that work with some of the individuals that you're working with?
Yeah, I have been really fortunate to like not have the full responsibility in a lot of the camps that I've been a part of because I have a roommate he actually not in town. He actually just had a heavyweight guy fight in Saudi Arabia over the weekend, so he's coming back from there. And yeah, so like I've assisted like some really good coaches, man, and that's kind of where like I'd like to stay. I have had to like be the head coach for fighters before, and in like some uncharted waters for even myself. I had to like be a head coach for a guy who was doing a bare knuckle fight, and it was like it ended up being fight of the night, man, and it was viewed by a lot of people, and it was a tough thing. It wasn't my sport, but here I am as a head coach for this fighter, and I'm like, I yeah, I'm really lucky to be in a position where I usually assist and I come in as a second in the corner. I come in as a second in the training camp. So like, if coach is out of town, head coach is out of town, I could come in and like corner sparring or hold pads or, make sure they're doing the road work, little things like that, and it's nice to be like, cause full time I'm in the fitness industry. So like whatever I can do in boxing, like to commit to a full time would be really detrimental to my fitness career.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's super cool though, because you've been on some you've cornered some guys on some pretty big shows, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've been lucky, and like not the biggest shows, not on a Canelo undercard or nothing like that. But I've been on TV before cornering fights, and like as a head coach and as the assistant, they mic'd me up, on on one of them before, and that was a crazy thing to experience, man. Because like yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like, being a coach for fighters is something that I take real seriously whenever I do get the opportunity. But like a lot of times it's not something that I'm really going for. So it's like still kind of awkward for me because like, the fighters need help and like sometimes they'll come around asking for it. And like as of recent, taking on a new project to open up my own gym, I've had to turn down a lot of like opportunities to help out and coach fighters. And it's tough because I want to help, but then I also know that it's a big responsibility and a big sacrifice that a lot of coaches take. They lose other business endeavors along the way just to show up for every single session, show up to every single phone call from manager to promoter to calling other coaches to set up sparring. And it's a lot, man. It's a lot of time spent outside even the gym.
Yeah,
100%.
100%. I definitely want to talk about your new gym, the works.
Yeah.
Super sick. While we're on the topic though, I want to get your feedback on sparring, because
Yeah.
a lot of boxing sparring is very hard, very fast paced. Like they're basically just fighting in there.
Yeah.
Do you have a take on sparring? How should it be? How much should a fighter do? I'm interested to hear your perspective on sparring.
Yeah, I mean, so the culture out here in LA, like we have gyms that are just you go in there and if you don't know your shit, you're gonna get fucked up at the end of the day. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, and nobody's gonna have any sympathy for you. You put in the mouthpiece, you sign the waiver. They don't care if you're good or not. Like, you're gonna go in there and get torched. But I also see like that's not beneficial to most people. But if you're a fighter, like you shouldn't be somebody who shies away from intense sparring. Like that's something that you need to develop, and to help you in training camp in the early stages. But if you're a fighter who's got like so many fights and so much experience and you're like, already an adult, you don't really need that much hard sparring. Like it doesn't need to be like a huge factor. And there's guys that can literally go through whole training camps with minimal sparring and still show up and perform really well. But that's not everybody. So if you want to learn the sport of boxing, you're going to need and you want to compete, I think it's necessary to have intense sparring. Obviously, have a coach who's going to have your back and not get you hurt. But to be under some fire is definitely necessary. But there's a balance, like there's like in boxing, it could kind of work a little bit, but then there's if you're constantly taking kicks to the face, if you do Muay Thai, like that's not good, and like that's a completely different limb. If you're taking elbows, even with like elbow pads on, I don't do those sports, but like, even like if you're rolling around in jujitsu, if you're constantly getting, choked out or getting your arm snapped back or your ankle picked, like that's not good either. So like it's there's definitely a balance. You don't want to move around with people that are in there really trying to fuck you up that much. It's obviously an intense sport and it's a violent sport, boxing. But there's ways to do it where there's a safer option and having sparring partners that are trusted. But to that same degree, like it does get heated and you have to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say it's more beneficial for a beginner? Let's talk about beginner
Mhm. Yeah.
to learn drilling, and then I don't know what would be that time period of a beginner going into sparring.
That all depends. It really depends because like I've been there where people like were really green when they first started and like they gravitated towards like getting into hard sparring really relatively easy, whether they had like an upbringing that kind of like, put them in situations where violence was something they weren't really afraid of or contact. They came from another sport where they didn't really mind it. They had the strength and the tenacity to kind of go through it quicker. Some people need a lot more time to develop, and it's smart to like not get into sparring right away. You know, like I don't think that you need to develop like, all right, you just started 2 days ago. Let's throw you in there with this national champ who's gonna whoop your ass. Like that's not good. Like that's not a good idea. And coming from like my side of it, I didn't have like any amateur fights before I sparred my first world champion or sparred of my first national champion. Like got completely torched by guys that I had no business being in the ring with. But I also like developed faster because I didn't shy away from it. I wasn't afraid of the contact or getting my ass whooped. But that's definitely not for everybody. Like I don't recommend that. That's not smart. You should have. And I didn't have a coach who really helped me out in those early stages. You know, and like that's something that you definitely need.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
I think I've with sparring, you can learn pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, like when you get in there and you have to really do the thing. But yeah, man, you definitely don't want to be getting pieced up every day. That's not ideal either.
No, 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 man. Like I be forgetting stuff all the time. Like, damn, bro, I got hit in the head way too many times, man. Like, I'll be over there talking like to a girl that I like or something, and she'll be like, "Yeah, remember I told you this?" And I'm like, "Damn, I don't remember." But you probably did. You know, I probably took too many punches in the head at some point, and you know, yeah. But no, it's definitely not a
How do
good
you
idea to.
protect against that? Like in a training, like for example, because like you're gonna get hit in the head, like you can't avoid it. So like, how do you? What are some type of things that you guys would do to like prevent the damage?
Yeah, obviously, like making sure that the if you're sparring with guys from the gym and or guys from another gym, which is like a tougher situation, do like like sometimes you got to make sure their gloves like are actually like the ounce that you guys agreed upon, like because you'll have guys that come in and try to do some funny stuff, and the headgear is important, but like there's really not much you can do to prevent somebody from getting their ass whooped when it's if they're green at the sport and like they want to be in there, but like their natural instinct aren't good instincts. Drilling is something that you do to like really start sharpening up those tools before they get put under fire, so they have the fundamentals of boxing to rely on to keep them safe. Because like it's funny how the simple thing of like keeping your hands up, tucking your chin, and kind of like just being shelled up really helps prevent a lot of damage. And a lot of people's natural instinct is to like bring their hands away from their body and try to like, and then they're getting pieced up even worse. So it's something so basic to learn in the beginning stages is something that like people take for granted before they get in there and try out sparring.
Hey, do you ever
100%.
you ever give a general population client a good smack on the face sometimes?
Sometimes by accident. Sometimes because we'll be in the middle of doing something fast and like you'll have people that don't really know boxing very well and like they're still green and that almost makes it like harder to work with or spar against or to hold pads for because like they're a little chaotic and they don't really have control. And then so like along that chaos, like if they want to go fast and are an explosive athlete and they just don't really have that same control, and they might end up in a situation where I tell them to throw their cross and duck, and then they're like, huh, boom, and then they get cracked. I'm like, damn, my bad, you okay? Like, then I've also been in those situations where like I've had like, you know, dudes that come in. I don't ever do it at chicks, but like there's dudes that come in and like they're just doing too much, and I'm like, no, just a jab, and I'm like, that's not a jab. I'm like, no, just a simple 1-2. That's it, just right here, pop, pop. Okay, let's see it. I'm like, okay, that's why my pads are here, but you're aiming like at my face. Like, all right, let's try this again. And then I've had some, like I'll end up like like instinctively like smacking them like, hey, you got to keep your hands up, dog. Keep your hands up, and then boom, touch them in the little body. And even though I have like a pad in my hand, like I'm still gonna touch their liver real quick just to let them know that like yeah, like you got to bring your elbows down too, dog. Like you got to, hey, we got to work on some defense here. And like subconsciously, I'm coaching them, but deep down, I'm getting a little payback for like swinging on me like that,
No,
But
but the
yeah,
thing is though,
yeah.
is that you could just see red.
But hey, dude, if somebody sees red, I don't want no problems. Obviously, they know what they're doing. If they see red, you better stay out their way. Yeah, okay, bro.
100%. Is that something you guys like encounter a lot? Like dudes just like getting into their. Because I know me, like I know me. Well, if I see red, like it's it's like game time. So
Yeah.
like, do you guys have to deal with that pretty often? Like telling people to calm down, like just like not take it
Uh,
so serious.
I don't encounter it as often. Like when at the first gym I was a trainer at, there was a lot more dudes taking class and a lot more beginners taking class. And like now, like I've kind of like fine tuned it to where a lot of people I hold pads for are people that I've been training for a while. So it's very rare that I have somebody like on the pads like on a daily or weekly basis that haven't hit pads with me before, or that are somebody that to create a setting where they can kind of just do whatever. Like that's not going to happen, you know, and they can do that on the bags, no problem, you know, and like after about 20, 30 seconds of doing that, they're pretty cooked, you know, they're not really trying to throw any more punches. So suddenly I'm like, oh, yeah, all of a sudden, like all that red you saw, you know, it's not there no more. You're not as angry or, you know, any once you're out of breath. Like, how does that happen? You know, so it's funny, like, you know, a little fatigue will end up kind of discouraging somebody from really like trying to go full force on you, whether you're holding
Yeah.
pads for them or sparring them. And yeah, it doesn't take, it's not something that's like that you can't deal with once you have enough experience. You know, it's like if I'm in there sparring with a beginner, which doesn't happen often, you know, I'm never somebody who's trying to really hurt them, but like they might be really trying to hurt me, not realizing it. And they don't know how much damage they can cause. And like when they're green and a little chaotic and they're throwing crazy shit, just a nice little body shot might set them straight. And then all of a sudden they're backing off. And like, you know, that's necessary evil, unfortunately, but people got to learn one way.
100%.
So like
Yeah.
one thing that's pretty interesting that I think about a lot, is that personal training at in some aspect is like a therapy session.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
would you say boxing is just like an added, like a little bit more of an added element for the Gen Pop, especially those people that come in, they're just looking to blow off some steam. They're looking to like
Yeah.
get
No.
some time.
It takes a certain type of individual to want to sign up for a boxing class or you know, any type of you know martial art that's gonna you know get you to learn a sport, you know, learn a combat sport. It takes a certain individual to want to do that, and understanding that, yeah, like it's you know something that I don't take lightly, and but also you know it's beneficial because you're able to kind of do something that like is physical, something that you learn or that you need to learn, and it's something that if you've never done it before you're gonna have to learn if you're coming into the setting because you nobody's naturally very good at it like to the point where you can be like top of the sport, you know, like it's not that's never gonna happen, I think, in most things you do in life, you know, unless you're some sort of savant that like you know the second you know see a deck of cards you know how to count them. I don't know, like there takes like a certain type of a person to want to show up and do it. And you know, yeah, some clients are easier to train than others, but at the end of the day, everybody can benefit from it in any capacity. I have clients who've come in and taken class on a wheelchair and they enjoy it. You know, they're not going to be competitive boxers, but like to get over and like, you know, throw punches is something that like is very rewarding, both physically and mentally for people and sometimes spiritually, you know?
Yeah, 100%. We have a at my gym, we have a rock steady program. So we'll have people with Parkinson's
Yeah.
come in and do the boxing, and
Hmm.
it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's a beautiful thing to watch for sure. But
Yeah. We had that same company at the first gym I worked at, man. They're really good. I
yeah,
like them, man. Yeah.
it's awesome to get to see them come in there and get a workout in, and
Hmm.
especially with boxing because we love it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, man, let's talk about your gym, man. It seems like
Talk about it.
it seems like it's been a long time coming, man. So co-owner,
Yeah.
co-founder of the Works in
Hmm.
Santa Monica, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, talk about it, man, because it seems like it was a long time coming for you.
Yeah, man. So the inception of the company came around just about like 8 months ago, 9 months ago. And we came together like, you know, me and my boy Nikki Hustle. We've been opening up Rumble Boxing Studios since 2018. And then my friend Rico, he was the main guy over at another studio called Box Union. So he taught like a similar music-based, you know, boxing format. And then my one of my the first guy who ever got me into a boxing gym, his name's Leon. He's our business partner, and he opened up a gym called Gloveworks. They ended up at 3 locations at their peak. And yeah, like it's funny. That's just a journey where like really all my like homies from day one and a lot of the journeys I came into with boxing and fitness. Now we're coming together to launch our own thing, and you know the timing couldn't have been perfect. You know, because now like I'm actually gonna do my last week of Rumble Boxing next week, and gonna branch off completely into doing my own thing. So it's you know, it's been a cool little project to be a part of, man, and it's been a you know, we could have been stuck in a situation where we don't have a flagship studio, but we've been hustling out of a garage for a long time, and you know, it's finally coming to fruition, man. It's been cool to be a part of it.
Hey,
Yeah,
congratulations, man. That's awesome to hear. That's
Thank you,
awesome to
bro.
hear.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. We got a good community over here supporting us, man. So we wouldn't be able to do it without them.
talk about the first location and now the second. How did that come
Yeah.
about?
So the first location was acquired, and it was just an empty garage. It was formerly an enterprise car rental service. So like it was an empty garage with like oil on the ground from different car repairs, and it's an empty parking lot. So we were able to get it for super cheap, and like eventually it's going to be built out into some apartments. But in the meantime, while the city's working out the permits for that place, the landlord was like, "Yeah, you guys can hold it down here and like do your thing." And so we turned it into like a private training studio for us and our clients, and small group private training. And now we're actually going to use it for the next 2 or 3 months as we build out our flagship studio into a group fitness studio, because we're going to hang up our bags in there and teach a similar format that we're going to be teaching at the new studio. And yeah, man, it's really just been like our home for a long time. And it's not a gym by any standards like that you usually go to or that we'd even be a part of. It's an empty garage. We had to like really gut the place, and like it's still not perfect. It's meant to serve its purpose, and it's there to help us build out our clientele for the next project. And we've been ready to get out of there for probably about like the last 5 months. But we've been trying to find the perfect location and lock it down, and we finally did.
That's pretty cool. And
Yeah,
you know
man.
what's pretty interesting to me is
Yeah,
sometimes it's not the best gym that ends up doing the best. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Where it's like that community, that sense of the people that are there is what makes it more so than the equipment or the actual location itself.
Yeah, because funny, I remember like going through the pandemic, a lot of like the boutique fitness studios we would see shut down. But one thing that I hardly ever see shut down was like the warehouse, like CrossFit style gyms. Like those communities never left, and they don't leave. Like they really, ingrain themselves to like that place. And it's not Equinox, it's not Soul Cycle, but like you've seen like different locations from boutique studios not able to maintain that same connection to their community. And like we really been lucky to like have a good community that's kept us afloat and been able to like help us get into the next chapter of our business, and that's expanding to a flagship studio that they deserve to be a part of. Like to have, because we've all trained clients and taught classes in really expensive build outs and really nice studios, but that money came out of somebody else's pocket. And we were trainers or partners for a company, then and we were able to use a really nice studio space, but it's never really felt like it was ours. And this is actually a project that we built from scratch, and we have a really strong community that helps support us. And yeah, like it's not the prettiest gym. We have leaks in the ceiling. It's cold in the winter, and like it's hot as hell in the summertime, but it's ours. And people show up because we're the ones teaching classes there and training our clients there. And man, we're really lucky to have like such a good support system.
Yeah, 100%, man.
100%.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
definitely right about that. The community, when people
Mhm.
people find something they love, they're gonna stick to it. It doesn't even matter the space. I love the warehouse space, dude. I think the warehouse
Yeah.
space is perfect for a gym. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, I know you got the new location, everything like that. It's gonna be sick. So
Yeah, and it's a little far away from like where I currently operate for Rumble Boxing in West Hollywood. People are like, "Oh man, you guys are all the way in Santa Monica. That's so far." And I know. I'm so man. What a bummer, dude. I'm 2 blocks away from the beach. Like, oh man, what kind of a person am I to open up a gym that the way over there by the beach? Like we're 2 blocks away from the beach. Oh my god, I know. So horrible. Sorry guys. Like we ended up in a pretty good situation, man. And I understand, like, people are gonna like always chime in on something where it's like, oh, it's so far, like from where they're used to seeing me. But it's like I've been building out my community over there for a long time, and yeah, like we have a really beautiful studio. Somehow we were able to acquire, and yeah, it's gonna be a real special place once we open it up.
so like going from teaching Rumble, teaching someone, a different brand to teaching your own brand,
Mhm.
what did you think you were getting into, and what did you find out you were really getting into once you started moving on your own?
Well, I knew that what I was getting into was something that wasn't heavily funded like a Rumble Boxing was when I became a part of that project. But what I also knew is that because of that, a lot of the responsibility falls on me as a business owner, as somebody who carries a lot of influence in the space, and like attaching my name to something. Um, it comes with the difficulty of if it's something that's different from what I was currently doing, is it going to attract the same clientele and the same audience? And initially it didn't. That's like 99% of the clients who I would see at a super fancy studio like Rumble Boxing, they weren't going to come see me in that garage space. So I had to restart and rebuild an audience that, is going to be they're going to be people that want to do a boxing workout in a space that isn't as pretty, isn't as Instagrammable as $1 million build out for a studio. But going through that phase that we've been going through of being in a garage, been really rewarding because now that we're opening up the space, now there's people really like seeing it for what we always saw it as. I'm like, no, this is gonna be our baby, is gonna be our place. Like, this is gonna be at some point, the really nice studio that we know it's gonna turn into being. Just at this point, it's just a garage. At this point, it's just a parking lot. At this point, it's just us. We don't even have a front desk. We don't have managers. We don't have a heavily invested brand, but we have ourselves and we have each other and we have our community and we're continuing to build it day by day. And it's difficult and it's not meant for everybody, but we were the right guys to come together and do this project. So yeah, man, it was really tough, man. But it's I'm happy to like be, and it's still tough. Like it's only to me like getting started. Like I'm stressed out every day trying to like make sure we get this grand opening like going, staying on schedule.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so speak a little bit on the transition of being a trainer to being a business owner.
Yeah. I mean, the transition really hasn't been too difficult because I felt like I was always kind of on my own anyways. From the point that I left the original gym that I was training at was actually in Santa Monica. I had about a year and a half, almost 2 years before I ended up joining Rumble, where I was on my own already, and I was teaching classes. I got an LLC for a company that I started with a friend of mine, and Rumble actually, I don't think they would have like came in and like tried to like poach me as a trainer from LA to help them out with New York and the studios that they ended up opening up in California if I hadn't gone down that entrepreneurial path already. So I came into it kind of like with that, being something that I'm like, that I'm capable of doing. I just was like on the precipice of opening up my own space at that time. And to me, I thought there was more to learn as a trainer. And the situation I was going to end up in is funny. Actually, the investor that we were going to go with actually owns a couple of Rumble Boxing studios now, and that was back in 2017. And I realized like, all right, like once I ended up visiting Rumble Boxing and seeing it, and I was like, all right, there's a lot to learn here as far as like the skill set of group fitness and getting boxing and turning it into a palatable modality for the general population was something that I didn't have a complete grasp on like 8 years ago when I first joined Rumble, and now I do. So like being transitioning to this phase, I'm only going into it with a lot more tools under my belt, and it made that transition a lot easier.
Yeah,
So would you
100%.
say the hardest part was learning how to take, because I can imagine you saw boxing as like the whole thing, like being intense about it and everything. Would you say the hardest part was taking the boxing and making it into like the digestible form?
Yeah, definitely. Like making it making boxing something that's like a very dangerous, violent sport that a lot of people and a lot of boxing fans are very, very particular on. Just how boxing's being done from gym to gym. Like you just look through the comments, like, oh, that jab sucks. Like, oh, that guy's stance is messed up. Oh, no, no, every boxer, that's all you hear all day is how, everybody, even people who work at construction sites and never laced up a pair of gloves in their life, have something to say about the Canelo fight they just watched. You know what I mean? So coming from like that type of like, you know, that type of environment where everybody always has an opinion, it was really difficult to transition from being a trainer who holds pads, being a trainer who spars and like really like authentically loves boxing for boxing, and having to remove that completely from what I do on a day to day to make this fitness modality be palatable to an audience that otherwise would be very intimidated to do something that was labeled as boxing. And so to be a part of the industry where it was welcomed in at some point, I was a part of it even before when it wasn't. So I didn't have a problem transitioning to that. And although it was difficult, like probably in the early stages when I first joined Rumble, or even before that, when I was teaching group classes in general and like holding pads for people that had no interest in even sparring at some point, just giving them a boxing workout and labeling it as that. It's just a workout. This isn't training for a fight. This is just to get you to sweat, move, and learn a new skill at the same time. But it makes it a lot more of a fluffy, delivery system, and I don't have an issue doing it.
It's cool how far along that's come. It's cool how
Yeah.
far along like boxing for the masses has come.
Hmm.
because it's pretty, it's pretty popular now. People love it. It's a great workout.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's really cool that people are getting into it because it's such a beautiful thing, man. Martial arts is it's a beautiful sport. What's
yeah,
the what's the vision? What's the vision for the works? Where do you see it
yeah.
going in the future?
Well, the vision always was like we've all been a part of the growth of other studios, watching, or being a part of like our own individual journeys as like, all right, we went from location 1 or 2 to location 30 at some point. I've seen my guy go from location 1 to location 3, seen my other guy go from location 1 to location 4, and like, building and expanding to more studios is obviously like something that we always knew would be something that's profitable. Obviously, like, if you want to open up a studio, thinking small is great if like that's how you want to remain. But in the larger scale, like if there's going to be a boxing company that's going to be teaching boxing in a group fitness format, group fitness setting, and it's a boutique fitness studio that you could take a class in, multiple different gyms in multiple different cities, and you could take that same workout in LA, and you could take the same workout in New York, you could take it in Charlotte, you could take it in Japan, you could take it in Australia. Like, all right, like if we can formulate our own version of what we know to work and make it better, that's the vision, is to make a product, whether we go from just having one studio or having 2 or 3 studios or maybe 20, I don't know. At some point, like, our expansion is all on it's our own journey, and we got to really like, navigate that. And so, right now we're focused on location 1, and so trying to envision it beyond that. Like, even if it's a super successful studio and we only stay at one location, that's the vision. Like, is having a super convenient thing that like we can go to teach something that we're passionate for, and something that we can make very palatable to people that maybe have never tried boxing before. So if we can get 10 people to try boxing for their first time, and it's at our studio, great. But if we could take 10,000 people or 20,000 people into their first time, that's not something that any of us have ever like had a problem with.
Yeah. Yeah, you seem to have a good team, like kind of like the squad you want to go about this endeavor. So how
Yeah,
important is that?
yeah, man, it's super important. So we started it with like knowing that we're doing a new project. We're going into this already having our names attached to the space. We're all boxing trainers and all successful trainers in the fitness space in on our own. So yeah, man, like attaching our name to something new, it comes with the element of like, all right, like it's hard to attach yourself to something that really hasn't happened yet, and to like attach your name to like, hey, like this could fail tomorrow, but this is what we're putting our name on. This is what we're gonna open up shop. And we might not get the same amount of people we had at our previous studios because they're nicer places. They got showers, they got this, they got that. They're heavily funded. There's a lot of money going into marketing for it, and like it's built to succeed whether we're there or not. This isn't. We have to be there. We have to show up, and we don't have any assistance. It's us. And yeah, man, that choosing the right people to do that's tough, because a lot of people who see the company when we first launched it 8 9 months ago probably weren't looking to like really like associate or really come in as like potential partners or trainers for us. But now like it's shifted because we've put in the work to like give anybody, whether it's the clients or it's the trainers, being the people to like formulate this and give trainers and clients alike a home that they can trust and that they can really use as like a place that's going to be something that they respect, and something that they take pride in. That's what we're building, and it took the right people in order to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see the growth of it, man.
Yeah, man. It's funny because again, like it started like less than a year ago, but like to be at a new flagship studio that formerly was a really successful yoga studio, man. Like we have big shoes to fill going into that space. And I've had a lot of people from that side of town be like, yo, I used to love going there. I can't wait to see what you do with it. It adds a lot more pressure because, all right, this place was a successful studio before, and it's been sitting empty for some years. And we're going into it with a lot of momentum, and it's a lot easier to mess it up than it is to make it successful. So yeah, man, I'm excited too, man. But right now it's just a lot of stress. So we'll get through that phase too, man.
What other
100%.
yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so I mean, like opening up your own studio, and it's definitely scary, but
Yeah.
it definitely you guys couldn't have a better combination going from what I've like been gathering from what you're saying is
Yeah.
you've got you who was with Rumble
Hmm.
pretty much from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got your other partners as well who have been with different boxing studios and were able to see the growth. And all of you were taking what you liked, what you didn't like.
Hmm.
And so it's just like it's a recipe. It seems like a recipe for success right there.
Yeah, and it's funny because like you'll see the initial journey of like, oh, these guys all came together to start this studio 8 9 months ago, and call that the beginning. But really, like the beginning is all of the collective experience we've all had, like you said, of being a part of companies and gyms that had to grow from location one to the next one. And yeah, man, like it's definitely like something that I don't take for granted is having a lot of both good and bad experiences at a lot of gyms and seeing what can go wrong and how to like prevent it if you can, like then you will. And we definitely like are going down a path of like we see a lot of things that we didn't like, but also see a lot of things that we did like, and we want to just kind of bring our own vision to life now, and that's where we're at. So it's a cool thing to be a part of, man, like to be honest. And like you guys said, it's cool to have like the recognition from the outside of like, oh, we get to see like the journey. And man, like people don't see like the initial message I have from 2010 when my now business partner was hitting me up like about, hey, yeah, come to my gym. Like, I hold pads here and da 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 da. And like, he's been a guy who's been around since my first day in the boxing gym to now we're doing this project together. And like, it's pretty special for all of us, man.
Yeah, bro. Like I said,
100%.
it definitely seems like a long time coming. And like
Yeah.
Andrew said, seems like a recipe for success. So our
Yeah.
audience is a lot of coaches and a lot of dedicated, people in the fitness industry. So
Yeah.
what would you say is like the traits of a good trainer for the coaches that are listening?
Yeah. Traits of a good trainer depends on the setting, on the clientele. Because if you're training athletes and stuff, it kind of gives you the freedom to one like program aggressively and like program like and deliver to a type of person who isn't going to mind being like having a drill sergeant there taking them through shit. And like some athletes need that. But then on the back end, it's like when you're training day-to-day people, you're not going to make a lot of initially, at least from my perspective, training fighters and training athletes isn't as lucrative for your bank account as training soccer moms and doctors and lawyers. And although they're not going to be the best athletes sometimes, um you'd probably be surprised at like how many people can like actually like do what you tell them as long as you deliver it accordingly. So whatever you learn out of a textbook or whatever you learn from being a former athlete, taking the time to like really develop as a trainer and doing it for not just a certain type of person but for multiple people, you start to develop a skill that is really something that's intangible, and that's dealing with people. Like, and if you can't deliver to certain people, then it's not going to be the right line of work for you, because you have to be good with people at the end of the day. And if it's not a skill that you're willing to learn, then you're going to have a hard time. You're going to face a lot of challenges trying to bring in clients because you're just not a good people person.
100%.
Yeah.
So coming off of that, like who are some people that you look up to in the business world? Because stepping out of the fitness world,
Yeah.
because like in the end of the day, a personal trainer, you're a therapist. So it's
Yeah.
like you got to learn that people skill. So who are some people that you look up to in outside of the fitness world?
Outside of the fitness world, that's a tough one, man, because I it's hard for me to like pedestal like anybody, you know what I mean? But like within the fitness world, I could like say that like I've shook hands with like guys that I always looked up to, like even like my former mentor. And we're going to two different businesses now, Noah Neiman, from Rumble Boxing, who founded the company. Like I didn't know him before I was like into the group fitness space. I came into a company that he founded. And then another guy that actually shook hands with at the first Rumble Boxing studio, his name was Akin. He was a Soul Cycle guy who has his own studio now, Akin's Army. And like seeing what they've been able to do in the fitness space is something that I've always looked up to. But outside of the fitness space, I mean, like I don't really look to like name guys like Jeff Bezos or things like that. Like business wise, there's been guys that really, you know, obviously are going to do really well in business in any business they get into. But like, my father is a guy who came from Mexico, and what I see him do every day is show up and end up in a position where he works for a hotel where he makes over $150,000 a year. And like initially when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. And so to see somebody's work ethic take them to a position where they can be a provider and supporter just like on the small scale for the family, that to me, like that's something that I looked up to, and somebody that I look up to is my father. So yeah, definitely that, man. Although I can name like a CEO or some shit, like I don't know that motherfucker. I know my dad, so like
I can
yeah,
100% relate to that. Like when my
yeah,
dad came from Uruguay, he came back in the 70s,
yeah.
and pretty much like he had to figure out his way. So that's I can say I relate to that a ton.
Yeah, man. Because like you asked me before, like doing the company that I'm launching now with the flagship studio. Probably a year from now, 2 years from now, when we're not at that garage anymore, and we've been holding down a flagship studio, and we're on location 1 or maybe location 2 or 3, um, doing that phase of it, being in the garage, we're still there. We're gonna be teaching classes there until we open up this new studio, and like seeing like the type of people that are gonna be able to have the work ethic to show up to that type of situation every day and not have the showers that you had at the former gym. Like going from having like the super nice build out, super fancy studio to having the warehouse garage kind of grungy situation. That's not for everybody, man. It's truly not. And to be able to like treat it as like it doesn't matter if it's raining and we got leaks in the ceiling, or if the place like doesn't have a front desk, we're gonna show up and get the job done. That's the type of dudes we are, and type of owners we are. Like we'll get our hands dirty, and like I don't see that too often with a lot of people in positions of power.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One thing I think that's interesting and cool with you is being in LA and the social media. It seems
Hmm.
like you guys are like the first to get on the trends or get on the social media. So
Yeah.
talk about that. Is that I guess that's where everything started. Like I seen you post the airball thing, and I had no idea what that was. And I was like, oh, okay, this is funny. I was like, yo, he just kind of started something. And then next thing I know, it was like everybody's on the airball. I was like, oh, yo, he's on top of the social medias.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't because like I'll just end up doom scrolling, like seeing like what draws inspiration or something. But like I'm not the best content creator. Like I do it as a necessity to like kind of run like a successful business, and we have social media strategies that we talk about and we try to deliver and really like try to execute. But at the end of the day, we're a brick and mortar business first, so that's always at the forefront, like making sure you're checking in on your clients, you're doing the job correctly, like there's some people that could do social media full time and like that's all they do. And like I've seen the type of sacrifice and hustle it takes to do that. And I personally can't keep up with it, but like every now and then like I'll hit something where it's like, all right, I saw that on TikTok, I'll take it to Instagram, and like, like I got in on it early enough to like make it look like I'm like, oh yeah, like this guy had a good eye for it. But like I don't know. I just kind of I wish I had more of a strategy when it came to social media, if I'm being honest, because like there's a lot of really successful people on it, and maybe I'd be in a better situation financially or with brand ambassadors. I don't know, little things like that if I was able to kind of fine tune my social media strategies a little bit more. But like, yeah, I don't always kill it on the algorithm. I hardly ever do, to be honest. As of recent, it's hard. But yeah, every now and then, I draw inspiration from a lot of like the people that do it well in this city, and like a lot of our clients are really successful influencers. So like drawing inspiration and like just trying to replicate what they do to some extent will end up like transferring over to like, oh yeah, look, now I went, I got a couple more likes than I did yesterday because I posted this and I drew inspiration from that. So you know,
Yeah, it just seems
yeah.
like that. Like that's kind of where it all. Like there's a lot of that out where you're from, and
Yeah, and it's just really beneficial. Like you're not the smartest entrepreneur if you're not able to recognize the tool that it is to have to your benefit to use social media as marketing. Like and using moments that you can go viral with, whether they're funny or whether they're inspirational, or whether they're just things that people want to watch. It's just whatever it can draw attention is something that's going to be positive for your business if you can transfer it over.
100%.
Yeah.
And along that line as well, like posting content, was it ever like a friction point for you?
I would say it is at all times because like I do have like the imposter syndrome of like, dude, nobody wants to hear about what I have to say about how to throw a jab or if I'm doing something instructional or like if I'm taking my shirt off. I'm like, dude, I'm not a bodybuilder, but like there's an audience for everybody, and like that's where the friction comes in. It's like having that like, oh, if I post this, is it gonna get am I gonna get the gratification of it going viral? Probably not. Like am I gonna get like, one person who's gonna like it? Probably, and that's good enough, So like having like that, like always as like a barrier. I don't always feel like posting every day, every week, every month and doing it consistently. That's hardly ever the case. So that's the biggest point of friction is like kind of getting over like the instant gratification or like the multiple like dissatisfaction of not really like breaking into the algorithm like you want to. Like that should be something that like you don't think about, but it's something real and like definitely something I always think about. I'm like, I don't want to fucking post today. Like I got a a whole fucking catalog of instructional stuff that like I didn't do well in when it came to hitting the algorithm. But this silly dance video I did, now that's going viral. I'm like, dude, what am I doing here? Like, like this doesn't make sense. So it's yeah, there's
Yeah, I've
always friction when it comes to that. Like your own insecurities kind of getting in the way of like putting yourself out there.
We got to get up on the dances, Andrew.
Bro, I'm
I don't
telling you,
have
man. Those did drive up my numbers a little bit, and and I do have a heavy female audience that takes my classes in the fitness settings, and I have a predominantly male following, so I'm always surprised to see like like dude, I posted like this like sick ass pad work video, I posted this instructional thing, like, and to see those type of videos flop, having a whole catalog of it on my page, and then this silly dance video I do with like some hot chick, all of a sudden now that's going, oh, okay, whatever, dude. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, so don't ask me for advice. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know what's ever gonna hit and what doesn't hit, and I don't think anybody does really.
Well,
I think that's the interesting thing, honestly, like especially coming from the fitness field where
Yeah.
like Brett and I talk about this often, like some of the guys that we look up to in the fitness field. And I like what you said, not putting someone on a pedestal, but the people's work that we look up to, that they don't have the big audience, but then the people who are doing the gimmicky stuff, the people who are dunking their face in ice baths, the people that are like doing things that have nothing to do with fitness are labeled
Yeah.
as these as the authorities in the business, and it's like, damn, they're not given any type of value.
That's how it
It's
goes, man.
in
Like I see it all the time. Where like even like in the fight world, a more popular coach, even if they're maybe not the right coach for you. I don't want to say that like that a certain coach or any coaches that just because they have a big following aren't good coaches. But you might be a fighter who's looking to, you know, you and your manager are looking for a coach, and you might go with the coach that has a more popular Instagram over the guy who doesn't have an Instagram at all because it's more beneficial to a marketing aspect of you as a fighter. And that's an important thing to not neglect. So like, again, like if you're an entrepreneur in any capacity, understanding the value of social media is something that you really should lean towards because it will give you more leverage, one in business and two, just in those day-to-day transactions of like somebody like, oh, well, I could go here, but this one's a little more expensive, but they have a more popular Instagram account. So it seems like socially, like they're a lot more trusted, even if it's not the actual case. It does benefit these people. And even if you see something as like inauthentic, they still got to the finish line, and like they're able to acquire whatever it is, whether it was monetary or it was a new business deal or a brand ambassador deal. There's something that's going on that's positive for them. So it might annoy people along the way, and I get annoyed by it too. I'm like, man, this trainer don't know what he's talking about. Like, why is he getting the brand deal or why is he acquiring like all these clients? And like I know way more than it, but that's not how the world works.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And it's interesting because only the people like us notice those things.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
people that are in the space that are understand it and truly love it. The thing is
Yep.
loving it, because I see a lot of these people that don't love it, but they're there for the post. They're there. Like Brent and I have this concept where we call all content, no work. all content, no work, and it shows. I mean, some of the most prolific figures in the fitness industry, they don't truly love it. They're not going to be in the gym if they didn't have to be.
And that's been
And
happening for a
so,
while, man. You know, like where you'll have guys that like are strictly like into the bodybuilding stuff, or and like they put out really motivational content, and they got the sickest, most shredded bodies, dude, and like they're able to sell what they do online and build out programs for like thousands of clients that they could accumulate over social media. Then on the back end you'll end up hearing about them getting sued because it came out that they weren't even programming these workouts that they were sending to people. They weren't talking to them one on one. Like it was somebody else that they hired to do the work, and they were just posting content, and they were able to make money off of it. Even if it was a scam, they were able to make money off of it. And people are going to gravitate to what they're going to gravitate towards. And if you know how to kind of tap into certain markets, you might as well. You know.
and yeah, and I don't look at it as much as I before. I had a huge friction point for social media because of that.
Yeah,
So
I
I
don't blame you.
recently started posting like 6 months ago,
Yeah.
and that was my biggest lesson was that, okay, if you see something wrong, if I see something wrong with all these people, then I have to be the authority that I think I can be, or
Hmm.
that I believe myself to be, and find a way to tap into that audience, find a way to tap into that large audience. So then it's like, okay, now I'm doing what I know is right, and how I think I could benefit the people while benefiting myself.
Yeah, exactly, man. So like again, like when you ask me about what a point of friction could be when it comes to social media, it's that, like, oh, this guy's doing it. If I'm not gonna be willing to like, be a gimmick type of influencer or trainer, then why do I even want to post at all? Like it's not gonna do well. It's not you can't really go into it with that mindset because then you're not gonna even try. And that's your biggest failure is not even trying. So like to like get over that type of stuff is, congrats on that, man. Cause like, that's a tough pill to swallow for people. It's like, look, I might not like what I'm seeing in the current, circumstance or the current, zeitgeist of influencers and fitness and all that, but it might as well be me getting out there and putting out the information then. So if this is like, the path that I got to go on and I'm not initially super successful at it, if I ever am going to be successful at it and become that authoritative figure with a big following with a lot of influence, it's not going to happen sitting around pouting about some other guy who got successful at it.
100%, 100%. And like that's a big lesson of the day. Don't complain about something you're not willing to fix.
Facts, dog. Facts, baby. Yes, sir. Yeah, that translates beyond the influence stuff, man. A lot of people again when it comes to boxing, man, we get that shit all the time. Keyboard warriors, man, they just like to talk, but they won't get up and like do nothing about it.
The
Yeah,
keyboard
100%.
warriors. There's a
Yeah.
there's a lot of them out there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They'll see you throwing a couple roundhouses on a bag, and they've never been to a gym in their life, and they're like, "No, no, your technique's messed up." I'm like, okay, bro. Yeah, you go take a leg kick from Brett, see what happens, dog.
Yeah,
For real.
no,
I
we
mean,
we see it a lot too with the S and in the S&C world too, in the personal training world, whether it's athletes or general population, people want to do what's
more so with the
optimal.
athletes, like anytime there's an injury, it's like, oh, this guy should have been doing this, and that. And it's like, man, you have no clue.
No clue at all, man. Yeah, that's how it is, man. But yeah,
What's
lesson of the
the
day, man.
what's the dude Andrew that just tore his Achilles and like the whole everybody
Oh,
started jumping
Halliburton,
on.
man.
Oh my, yeah,
That was
Yeah,
so
everybody
Halliburton.
hopping on
sad,
him.
man.
That made me sad, bro, because I wanted to see Indiana win, and he had 9 points. He had 9 points on that first quarter.
My God, bro. No, he I don't even watch basketball like that like I used to, but like I saw the story on Halliburton and I didn't even know who he was till the playoffs, if I'm being honest. I just don't watch basketball like that. And the run that he's had has been crazy. And like to like have it end where one, they didn't get the championship, and two, tore his Achilles, like, and that's something that could have been prevented. All you have to do was sit out the game. But unless you've been an athlete at any point in your life, like I went back to my senior season of football with a fractured clavicle and like a bunch of dislocations in my shoulder, and I just messed it up even worse that entire season to where like I had to get a shoulder surgery once I began boxing because of a super bad tear in my labrum. But people don't get it. I'm like, no, there was nothing that was going to stop me from getting back out there because it's my senior year. Like I'm not going to skip this. Like I'll never lace up my cleats again, possibly, and I never did. Never put on my shoulder pads and helmet ever again, man. And like, so I'm really grateful that I went through that whole season, like, but I also went through that season going to the first game of our season, watching our one of our starting linebackers get his neck fractured, and he's still in a wheelchair to this day.
Damn.
And this is like a reality of, like, contact sports. Even though basketball isn't technically a contact sport, but like it's physical, and these athletes will really hurt themselves, and they push their bodies to the absolute limit, and they do it because of a genuine passion. So no matter what you tell them, no matter what doctor is gonna give you advice on, like that's an intangible tool that got them to that point that they can't let go if they're gonna go out on the shield every time.
And that's another thing I think about too. It's like sports aren't safe. Like if you're gonna be good at a sport, you're gonna push yourself to an unhealthy limit. Doesn't matter
Yeah,
what sport you're in. Like I was a swimmer my whole life, and I could tell you straight up, like training 7 hours a day when I was in college, like that's not healthy. I got
no,
I got rhabdo my freshman year, and I was like, I felt like I was gonna die. Like
yeah.
I had to take 2.5 weeks off of training, just like sitting in bed because it was crazy. Like, do you know what rhabdo is?
No, I have no idea.
So it's like this disease, or it's like this sickness where I'm gonna look it up right now to get the actual name.
Yeah.
So it's this sickness where you're putting too much too much force on the muscles, too much exertion, and the muscle tissue starts eating away at itself, like it starts dying.
Oh man. Yeah.
So it rhabdomyolysis is a serious medical condition caused by muscle breakdown that leads to the release of muscle fibers, especially myoglobin in the bloodstream.
Hmm.
These substances can severely damage the kidneys and other organs if not treated quickly.
Yeah. So it's funny. People always like, no, overtraining's not real. They're like, okay, well, here's Exhibit A, bro. Like, come on,
Right.
dog.
Because
And
the people
I
that say
never I
that
never got
dumb,
rhabdo, but I had athlete induced pneumonia my sophomore year, and like I just kept showing up even though I was sick because I wanted to, like, I wanted to make sure I earned my spot as a starting safety for the team, and like I ended up having to take like a whole month off of like training because I almost died trying to do like some beach runs, man. So yeah, man, that's
100%.
crazy.
I mean, the
That's
people that say overtraining isn't real is because they haven't been put in a situation like they haven't been put in a situation. Like let me be honest, I always said overtraining was fake because and until like I was doing 7 hour days from like the time I was like 8 years old. You know what I mean? Like a lot of double practices, and I never experienced anything like that. Then being in college, like you experience true fatigue, and it's like okay, the body has a limit,
yeah,
and there
and
are
it goes back to like when you initially asked me like the differences of training clients and training fighters. Like the difference is like you have to really have a good ability to read people and to see that when it comes to fighters, like your best asset is to actually try to like get them to like not overtrain. Because a lot of guys will go and they'll run through a fucking brick wall 1,000 times. But if you're a coach and you're like, go do it again, they're gonna go do it again. Then you have the other end of the spectrum where you have, your soccer moms, your 9 to 5 workers that are coming in to do a workout class, and you're just trying to get them to do a couple more squats. They could do it, but they don't want to. Like, and then so it's two completely different ends of the spectrum as a trainer that you kind of have to deliver to when you're, if you're able to kind of do both. Like, you have to realize that that's the difference, man.
And that's definitely been my biggest struggle with group fitness classes is they'll
Mhm.
tell you to push, push, push. And the problem is with telling me to push, push, push is I actually push, push, push.
I will. I'll go. I'll do it, dude. Whatever you're saying, I'm gonna do it, bro. Like, and it might not be the safest thing. I might have completely killed myself the day before, but here I am in a group fitness class, and this trainer's got a microphone on. They're saying some inspirational stuff. There's some sick ass music playing. There's a bunch of hot babes around me. I'm gonna do these burpees, dude. I don't care if I pull my back in the process. And I've been there a few times. You know,
Yeah.
like, it happens, dog. Like it happens, man.
Definitely, definitely. Especially with the burpees. I like try to hit my head on the ceiling type of shit.
Yeah, I'm a complete jackass, dude. I'm gonna be 33 this summer. I gotta relax on that type of stuff, but I can't help myself, man.
You got that dog, bro. You got that dog. Like
Yeah,
you can't.
yeah, that's the thing. You got to know your limits, man. Like overtraining is definitely a possibility and a reality. As Exhibit A, you have to deal with it, man. Like that sucks.
Get a couple shorties around, knowing you're good. There's no overtraining when the shorties are around.
That's what it feels like, man. All of a sudden, you got that little extra motivation you wouldn't have had if you were working out in a room by yourself. You might have given up on that rep, but then like, all right, I'm gonna do a couple more of these squat jumps because I got this girl who deadlifts 300 pounds next to me who's having no problem right now. I'm like, I'm over here sucking wind, but like some of these girls' cardio and like their endurance is insane, bro. So like it's good to have like that type of like motivation around, but also you got to know your limits, man. You could end up in some pretty rough situations as an athlete if you overtrain.
You ever dabble in any other modalities?
Yeah, man. I like doing yoga. I like doing Pilates. I recently haven't like done any really other modalities. I like doing all the powerlifting I learned from playing football, Olympic lifting. I like swinging kettlebells. I like running. I've dabbled in Muay Thai a little bit, barely. I have friends that do it, so like they taught me some stuff and like yeah, man. So I'm always willing to like do it, whatever, man. I'll get up and fucking. I took a dance class before, man. Like I did a salsa class. I did two of them. I did a beginner hip hop class, and that was embarrassing. But I'll show up and try it. I like to move my body. And like that's something that I cherish, and like I love taking on new challenges when it comes to stuff like that. I don't like to read. I don't like to do math, but I like to move my body, so I'm cool with that.
And that's the best thing to have, honestly. Like the best motivation is that you just want to move. It doesn't matter what the implement is like that's what gives you the enjoyment.
Yeah. So it's funny. As much as like I love doing the boxing stuff, I just love moving my body in general, man. So like any other modality that exists, like although I might be nervous and I might not be good at it initially, like I'll try it and I'll do it. Like no problem. Like I enjoy the challenge.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a fun thing. That's a fun thing. That's something that I had to learn, especially after stopping my well, I never stopped the swimming career, but definitely had to slow it down after 2020. But
Yeah.
it was just finding the joy in the act of moving rather than having it be a mission each
Yeah.
session.
Yeah, and even something as subtle as like going on a walk with your dog for 30 minutes is like that falls under the category of moving. And for some people, like you'll wake up, you're like, oh man, I gotta take my dog out. Like it's 5 in the morning, he's over here barking at me. And then when you really alter perspective, there's people, thousands, millions of people waking up every day and they can't get up and move because they ate too many Pop Tarts when they were a kid and now they got diabetes and they can't get out of bed. And there's people who have injuries that they're never going to come back from. There's war veterans that got their leg blown off, and you have to get up realizing like it's a gift to get up and move your body every day and to like really alter that perspective. And that's the only way you can really get up and really see tangible results at some point is like you have to get up and do it on days you don't want to do it. So to find the passion for it, for even like the most subtle things like going on a walk or a hike or stretching your body, like you might not want to do it, but it's something that's definitely really rewarding, man. You have to learn to love it.
What's
And
something
that
what's
also business. Oh, my bad.
Go, baby.
No, I was just gonna say what's something that people don't know about you, man, that fuels that may fuel your drive, your process and everything that you're doing right now.
Let's see. One thing people don't know about me. Oh man, I got a twin sister. So that's one thing. A lot of people don't know about that. I have a twin sister. She's great, and like they'll see me like like post with my. They don't realize she's my twin sometimes, and but like she's really really smart, man. Like she went to grad school and everything, dude, and she's always been like the smarter twin, and I'm just like the idiot grunt, athlete. Yeah, I grew up doing graffiti and stuff, doing bad stuff, and like she was always like on the straight and narrow. So that always keeps me motivated. Is that like any path that I end up on, whether it's good or bad, I have a twin sister who's really like shown me that like using your brain and being smart is something very beneficial, no matter like how strong I've ever become as an athlete or how talented I ever became as an athlete. Um, having the inspiration of a very smart sibling, it was something that I never thought was attainable for me. Like I start to realize, oh, that she's earned this. She went through the same path that I went down when it came to every single class that I took, and every single teacher that I had, like, she was my twin. She went through the same path and was able to succeed, as a scholar and in her setting. I always respect it and like, always looked up to it as something that like, I'm capable. I can, even though I'm not college educated. I barely know how to read. I suck at doing math, but that doesn't make me a dumb person. Like I know that she's a very smart person, and to have like your own twin as somebody that you could aspire to be like is really something that a lot of people don't have, and I'm grateful to have it.
Yeah, and I mean, shit, building a business makes you like you learn a lot of different skills that end up being a lot harder than math and reading.
Yeah, they don't teach you this type of stuff in school, man. That's for sure. That's for sure, dog. Yeah.
100%. And I mean, shit,
Yeah.
you gotta learn how to like deal with people, which might be possibly the hardest art there is.
Shit, that's my point exactly, man. Is like, you could be a very educated, smart trainer, but if you don't have the ability to kind of see, one like from a marketing perspective, yeah, it's good to get on social media and put your stuff out there. It only makes you a better trainer, like as far as I'm concerned, or at least a more palatable trainer or somebody who can market. Um, but yeah, then like, on the education side, it's good to have all of that and then sprinkle in the people skills. Like, it's hard to fail at that point. You know what I mean? And but you'll see it where there's really, really smart trainers out there, and like you could be one of these really smart, educated, super like intensive trainers where your stuff, but you're not able to get as many clients as the next person because they have a better following than you, or they're able to kind of like, talk to people better. It's a skill that you need to learn how to have. And yeah, man, I definitely take inspiration from people from different walks of life, and my twin sister's one of them, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what's crazy too is like being twins, and like how like different you say that both you are.
Hmm.
That's like always something that interests me a ton because like my sister and I are the same thing where it's like I've always been good at reading, always been very, very social. But
Hmm.
my sister's really good at like the little things. Like she's very good at like the organization. She's good at like putting together spreadsheets. She's good at little things like that.
Yeah.
But like for me, like I'm more of like the put me in front of a person and I'll deal with it. Put me in front of
Yeah.
anybody and I can just do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny, man. That dynamic, from sibling to sibling, it's cool that like you can see like different personality traits and different, intangible skill sets that you might be born with as something that like you learn to appreciate, because it used to be something that might even annoy me or make me jealous. It's like, oh man, like everybody's always giving her praise. Oh, she got into this school, good job. Oh, I'm sitting there like, well, I landed my jab on my sparring partner last week. That's pretty cool, dude. Like, as sometimes, you can find yourself having, moments of
Hey,
insecurities and stuff
hey,
like
that's
that.
a
But
that's a big deal sometimes. You get to finally land a little 1-2 on somebody.
bro, yeah, like, you don't know how many hours I put in the gym trying to figure that out, dog, and like to feel confident with it, and like, yeah. But it's two completely different realms of life, man. And like yeah, man, you're lucky if you have siblings to, kind of bring out that not, I wouldn't say competitive nature, but like just admiring that there's different skills that people have that you might not. And it works out in business because I work with a team of people that we all have a separate set of skills, and we all rely on each other to kind of like make up for it, because we don't have to go through the journey by ourselves, and we're happy to kind of share the space and the company and attach our names to it, knowing that I might not be good at certain things, and my other business partner might not be good at other things, but what I'm good at and what he's good at or she's good at, benefits us in the long run of being on the same team together rather than being individuals.
What do you do? What do you do outside of training to keep yourself sane, or like just some other hobbies that you enjoy
Yeah,
doing?
I really like going to the shooting range, and being in California, it kind of I can see it being a taboo subject and a taboo activity to do. But I've been shooting like with a shooting coach now at an outdoor range and doing all types of different type of weapons. Um, yeah, like some people like to go to the golf course or they like to go to play pickup basketball. Like I like to go to the shooting range. It's an expensive habit, but it's something that like I really love doing it. I'm not somebody who's ever been military or I've never been in law enforcement or anything like that. But I'll be out there at the shooting range with these guys that are former military and current law enforcement guys, and really learn from these guys. And the same thing. I'm sure when they do that full time, coming into a boxing gym or a Muay Thai gym or a jujitsu gym, they get to learn a new skill from people that do this full time. And yeah, so like it's still a physical activity. So like, if you want to like separate it from the gym, that I do, but like you could also just like, nah, bro, you're still doing an activity that's like relative to being active. So I'm like, all right, well, to me it's different. I'm not going to a golf course. Like that's something that a lot of people like to do as a hobby. I just like to shoot guns, man. Like, and that's something kind of new I've been doing since the pandemic, but I love doing it, man.
You ever do any shooting, Andrew?
I love it, bro. I can't even lie to you. There's a certain power that comes with hitting a target when the gun is in your hand that
Yeah.
it's just like you feel like it's not even like a power feeling, but it's like more of like it's like a satisfying feeling where like you feel the gun, like you feel the pressure, and then like you hit the target, you hit the target, you're like, yep, yep.
See, man, so that's the thing. For me, sometimes it's not even about like hitting the target. For me, it's like because when I first like held a rifle even or just even a handgun, the difference was like from going from like seeing it being done to having it in your hands and having to manipulate a weapon and actually fire it and handle the little explosion in your hand. Hitting the targets like that's icing on the cake. But being able to successfully like learn how to manipulate the weapon, how to like exchange or how to do a magazine change if you go dry, or how to handle a malfunction if it happens in your hands, like to me like that's where like I really enjoy like the shooting range is having to deal with all those different situations even before even getting the on the target. Is like if you're in a outdoor range situation, you have to run to the target and like pick up your weapon and manipulate it, take the safety off and deal with the malfunction potentially. And or even if you run out of ammunition, doing a magazine change and trying to like time that and doing it under pressure, like that's something that's really fun for me. So and hitting the target's icing on the cake. And like you'll realize how many like guys are really like not the best and most accurate shooters, but they're really, really good at understanding how to manipulate the weapon and how to like be in the situation and how to handle certain things the right way. And like that's where I find like the fun part of it is like learning that skill.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they have
100%.
I think they have in Florida here, Andrew, 4th of July gun sale going on or something like that. I don't know if you heard about that. Might
I
have
mean,
to
shit. Here in Florida, it's
we might have to
everybody.
scrap up.
Yeah, you guys got a lot more looser gun laws out there, so purchasing the weapons even is a lot easier. Like we have to go through a lot more loopholes to like get even the type of weapons that you could get just another state over in Arizona or Nevada. We have a lot of more restrictions in California, so like if there's
Oh,
some
dude,
good
it's
things that
like
you could get in
free
Florida, then
free reign over here.
yeah,
They,
people have their opinions on it, but like that's pretty
my
cool.
my
Yeah,
my brother loves shooting, man. He has like
yeah,
so many. He has like two micro AK-47s, the Dracos, like
yeah.
ARs, pistol, everything you could think of.
Yeah, those are
And
fun, man.
it's
I
always
pull out my arsenal for you boys right now. I don't want to get in trouble over here. You know what
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean?
yeah. Keep it on the low.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. We scrapped up like a
that's pretty cool,
terrorist.
bro. I mean, I'm not super into shooting, but I love it. Anytime I go, like it's such an awesome feeling. I
yeah,
want to get into archery too. Like that's something that I've been wanting to try for a while. Go out there
yeah.
and shoot the bow.
Yeah, man, it's
Uh,
cool. I think it's good to have those hobbies, man. Like if you pick those things up as a male or female, you get out there and you move your body in any capacity. Again, like you're asking me about what hobbies I do outside of the gym, and for most people, like their hobby is the gym. Like they have their 9 to 5 office job, and as soon as that thing's done, they can't wait to wrap up their hands in a shadow box and get their gloves on and hit the bag. Um, so yeah, man, like if you're somebody who's an athlete trying to find another hobby to do outside of the modality that you train in, that's an important thing, man. Like picking up archery, my boy, like that'll be fun. And that is it's funny because like you'll watch all these like different movies and stuff and history documentaries about archers and you'll watch Legolas or that Orlando Bloom from Lord of the Rings do some crazy stuff, and then you'll see like actual guys picking up heavy bows, and like it takes a lot of strength to just even pull the bow back. Like, oh man, I've
That
never
was
done it
like
before,
that was
but
like the original one of the original ways of like warfare was swords and arrows.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah, that's
super
cool as hell,
cool.
man.
Yeah, so it's super fun. I mean, I've shot a few times. I've shot a few times. It gave me a little bit more adrenaline than the gun, I will
Yeah, I
say.
bet. Yeah, I bet.
Like when I had to like engage the lat, and it was like feeling like a cable machine. Like
Yeah,
that's how I did it. It was like I was pushing the cable up with the other
yeah,
hand, so like engaging my chest, and then on this one I was engaging the lat. And it
yeah,
was just like it became a little mental game for me. And then trying to aim was super cool.
yeah,
Had those arm lines working.
Yeah, yeah. And then like with the gun, like I felt very like you feel like a certain type of like just like freeness. Like when you have the gun, it's like this is a dark thought, but it's like I could do absolutely anything and in this moment, and nobody can stop me because I have the gun in my hand. But like with the bow and arrow, it's like more of a connection to the tool that I
yeah.
felt.
I agree. I agree. And like I said, like like hitting the target, like that's icing on the cake. But like understanding how to actually like control, manipulate, and like be in control of the weapon that you're holding, that takes a skill set, man. And like you can see somebody who like knows how to swim and watch them tread water, but like that there's a lot more to it than just treading water and knowing how to freestyle swim. Like, it's yeah,
100%.
like you'll sit back and like I don't know anything about swimming, but what I do know is when I see Michael Phelps out there, if he's doing a freestyle swim, I can see that his head's underwater. One, two, three. One, two, three. Every third stroke, he's taking an inhale. I don't even know how to swim like that, but I can see that and spot it out. And like it takes like having experience in other modalities to like even pick up on that and to like appreciate how difficult something like that could be.
Yeah, and I think like just having that discipline in one thing allows you to appreciate it in anything, because it's like,
Yes.
okay, so I had to learn boxing to the extent where it's like I'm even paying attention to their foot, I'm paying attention
Hmm.
to where their hips are going, and then it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at swimming, and then I'm noticing that like he's rotating his hips, he's rotating his
Hmm.
feet, like his head is going up, and like the same thing for anything. Like it takes one thing to hyper focus on for you to notice it, and notice those patterns in anything.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I definitely have those hobbies, man. Like shooting's one of them. Or like nerding out on it, like is something that like it helps me kind of like yeah, I do see it as a form of therapy for me. Like if I'm not in the gym, having a day planned out to go to the shooting range really like it makes my time spent walking this planet a lot more enjoyable.
Talk about some of your tattoos before we wrap.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got some ink on the sleeves, man. So I got this eagle right here with the serpent on top of the one of the Santa Monica lifeguard stations, but it's the eagle from the Mexican flag or a rendition of it. And yeah, my dad's from Mexico, but I was born in California, man, right here on the beach in Santa Monica. So, hold on one second, man. I gotta boom. I gotta go on Do Not Disturb. My fault, fellas. But yeah, let me make sure I'm on my Do Not Disturb. Am I put it on? There it goes. Focus. Do not disturb. Bow. There it goes. Somebody try to call me. But yeah, so I got the Mexican Eagle right here. I got LA. I got West on my arm right here. Then I have like a little city backdrop of downtown with the old truck I used to drive when I did construction on this forearm. Um, this one, these is like this whole thing's all these are all newer tattoos. So this is my grandpa on here with a little Mexican chado suit, like one of those suits you see guys singing mariachi. He's wearing one of those here. And then I got a dove above him, and this is an Aztec warrior. But yeah, man. So full
Nice.
sleeves right there, and we'll probably add more to it. It's just that's kind of where I finish my tattoo journey for now is getting like all this, and I still want to fill in the inside here. So, yeah, man.
That's pretty
That's
sick.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean they hurt though. I hate getting tattooed. For as many tattoos as I have now, I hate doing the process of it, man. Feel like I'm
I,
traumatized every time I leave that tattoo parlor, man. It's like stuff.
It's a good bit of recovery that goes into that too. Right?
That's the thing, like the pain of it like happening, like being there for several hours is one thing. The recovery afterwards is like people don't talk about it. Man. I usually get sick. Like I get like a little flu sometimes because like, you essentially have an open wound and like all my tattoos were like pretty big tattoos. So like be under the in the tattoo parlor like for several hours and like come out of it like my lymph nodes will be inflamed and I'll typically like go through like a lot of itching and stuff like that. That's fine, but like it hurts, man. It really hurts.
damn,
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
damn.
Pretty
I've
sick.
never gotten a tattoo.
Yeah,
Um, the tattoo. I always kept the tattoo reservoir open for the Olympic rings. We
yeah,
got
I
to
feel
get there.
that.
Got
Is
to get
that
there
that's still
first.
something that you might end up doing, man? Is doing the Olympic situation?
Yeah, I mean that's always been the goal of swimming. Um, but it's just a means of getting back to it and really dedicating some time. So
Yeah.
I took the past few years to focus on the career, focus on making some money so that I can support the dream.
Yeah, no, I feel that, man. It's funny. I actually have a kid I got to take to the gym right now. He's a two-time Olympian. And he went
Nice.
for his home country, Mongolia, and like he won or he fought Shakur Stevenson and got the bronze that year, I think, when Shakur got the silver. And yeah, man, like he's got a fight coming up in Fresno on pro boxing TV in 2 weeks. But yeah, I gotta take him to the gym after we get off the call over here. But yeah, man, like it's not an easy journey, man. I know a lot of boxers that were surprisingly enough, I do know like at least like five boxers that went to the Olympics personally, and like it's not an easy path and for any sport, man. So, if that's a dream of yours, man, you end up going for it, man. Hey, hats off to you, my boy.
I appreciate that. It takes a lot of
Yeah,
time and it's like it
facts,
takes a
bro.
lot of saying no. It's more
Yeah.
more so what it is than anything. It's more so saying no and just being completely like deadlocked.
Well, especially as an American athlete, man, there's no really
Oh,
easy path. A lot of countries will pay
I'm
for
from
you to
Uruguay.
like. So yeah,
I
man.
I swim for Uruguay. It's United States is insane. Like United States,
Yeah,
like if you make it for United States, you're guaranteeing a medal, basically.
yeah. They're not sending you out there for no reason, though. It's like,
Yeah.
damn,
So
yeah,
I definitely
Uruguay. That's crazy.
I got the little cheat code, the cheat code.
It's funny. Actually, no, I know a kid also who he was competing in the amateurs in the U.S., but he still had his passport from Uruguay because his parents are from there. And he fought for the national team over there for a little bit. He didn't fight for the Olympic team, but he fought for the national team, represented them, and it was an easier path than like doing the because he lost a tournament by decision and didn't make the national team for the U.S. So he wanted to go to Uruguay and competed over there. You know?
Yeah, that's honestly it's a hack, but it's still it in the end of the day, like even if you go for United States, you're not really making any money. You're
Yeah,
not
and that's the
making any
thing. But
money.
like the path, like if you're from the U.S. and you want to get onto the Olympic team, and your parents aren't supporting you, like there's not really a path to take for any sport that I know of. For like there's yeah, like if you're competing for the Chinese or Russian national team, they're paying you to do it, and like there's a lot of money behind it. There's places to go to. There's like training facilities. In the U.S. is so scattered, and like it's not a very it's not an easy path to go down.
If you
They
think
could
about
they could make it
college,
easier.
like
Yeah.
if you think about college, they're like defunding the Olympic sports essentially.
Yep. It's messed up, man. It's tough.
Yeah. Well, we have a few minutes left because I know Brett has to go and I have to get back to the office.
Yeah, yeah.
But final thoughts here.
Hmm.
So if you were to give advice to somebody who wants to be a trainer or
Yeah.
build their own business, what would you say like they need to they need to learn more so than anything?
So first off, I would say like get the education part down. get your certifications, and spend time actually being in the gym and seeing the results from being in the gym. So be a client first, get educated second, and then three, like learn how to be a good people person. Like that's what's ultimately gonna retain clientele for you if you're gonna be in any successful in any capacity, as a businessman or as somebody who makes sales. Because at the end of the day, if you're a trainer and you're trying to make money being a trainer, you have to know how to make sales and you have to know how to retain clientele. And that's not something that they teach you in the textbook. It's not something you learn when you are the client. Like you can pay for a trainer and you can pay for classes, and you'll see what they do, but you won't really understand what they do as trainers to in order to keep you around the gym, and why whenever you see them, they might be going through a divorce, they might have just foreclosed a house. You never know what a trainer or a gym owner could be going through, but when they show up to teach their class or to train you, you typically won't experience, like, you won't see those things that everybody in life goes through. You can't really wear it on your sleeve as much. You have to understand that you're a business person and you have to make a sale, and in order to retain clients you have to really be a good people person. And if you're not somebody who likes the social aspect of being a people person, then I would suggest finding a different career path.
100%.
Yeah, man.
100%.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. AJ, bro, we appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a cool episode.
Yes, sir.
And,
Appreciate you guys, man. It was a lot of fun talking to you boys, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
100%, man.
we
Good.
definitely got to run it back sometime. We got to run
Let's
it back
do it,
sometime.
man.
We have a little bit of time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. We'll run
man.
it back when I get the new spot open, man. I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah, man. Hey, so
Hey,
where can we find a new spot? Where can we find you? Social media, address,
Yeah.
all that.
So the business that it's Do the Works, or so we're at Do the Works on all of our social media platforms, and then my social medias I'm at the real AJ Perez, based out of LA. Now going to be in Santa Monica, California, with the new flagship studio 2 blocks from the beach. So you could come see me over there, man. If you ever hear about me or see me, come see me at the beach.
Let's go. Let's go. Hey, we appreciate you guys watching another episode of Power Talks Podcast. We'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.
All right, boys. See you, man.